in the space of 12 months, we tripled his organic traffic and doubled his conversions.
People stock things habitually and they buy from their mates.
The two really big changes that dealers need to be aware of. I have $100,000 to spend on marketing this year. How should I split it up?
They don't think that they can do it because they've never been shown.
Guess what? I own your ad account. You can't see where your money's being spent. People are evaluating and making decisions before they ever get to your website.
Welcome to this week's episode of the Drivetime Podcast. I'm on the road at BrightonSEO this week, and have I got a guest for you? I've been stalking Greg Gifford for about 2 years now, and for at least the last year since we launched the podcast. So I'm delighted. We couldn't get him in the studio, but he's one of those guests he was absolutely worth traveling for. So Greg Gifford, So Greg Gifford, who's the COO of Search Labs. You are a global thought leader on search. I'm serious, but you are I think you've spoken to every single Brighton SEO since this event started. But
not quite, but everyone since the fall of 2014.
So that's pretty much
back when it was like 400 people over in the Dome. So yeah, it's been a long time.
That's mad, isn't it, really? So I am so delighted to have you on the podcast.
Happy to be here.
And thank you for coming up to find us in this little back office. It's been great. Greg, I've given you a bit of an introduction, but I'd love you just to introduce yourself and how you ended up doing what you do at Search Labs and how you've become such a key voice in search engine optimization.
So for a 45-minute podcast, after my answer now, we'll have maybe 30 seconds left because It's a long story. So I actually started in automotive as a flash designer years ago. So I had my own agency doing flash websites. And things didn't go so well with my partners because it was not a full-time gig for them. And if of the three of us, I'm the only one really invested in the business, clearly things aren't going to end up great. So when I went to leave that, my skill set was Flash, although I'd started to figure out some SEO stuff because you realize that Flash websites don't show up in Google. So we figured out how to make them show up in Google, not realizing we were doing very nefarious against the rules cloaking stuff. And so I went to go interview for Flash design jobs, and it came down to Match.com or this company called AutoRevo that did websites for independent dealers. And Match.com's interview process was very convoluted and very corporate red tapey. So I was like, I don't want to work here. So I ended up going to the other place. And pretty quickly, they were like, wow, you're way overqualified to just be a Flash designer. Why don't you run the design team? And very quickly after that, they were like, you know a lot about marketing. Why don't you run marketing? And maybe a year after I was there, they decided they wanted to start selling SEO. And so we started interviewing SEO people, and I was interviewing them because I knew the most about it and nobody knew as much as I did. So the owner said, I want to put you in SEO because we can hire anybody to do marketing. So that's when I was in like really full bore. And I very quickly started speaking at SEO events, and that kind of raised my profile. So then I got recruited away from that company after about 8 years to go work at DealerOn, which is the second largest website provider in the US, to build out SEO because they wanted to start selling SEO. And so then I was there, and they made some not so great decisions because they were trying to sell the company, and I did not want to have my name stamped on something that I knew was not really SEO. So I left, and then I ended up at Search Lab. And at the point I started, I was like the 9th employee of the agency. And then, my profile has just continued over the years to rise. And now I'm a fairly popular speaker, and I get to travel all over the world to crazy places I never would have been in my life. So it's been pretty awesome.
So just thinking about the work you've done in auto, and also I think there's a lot of trends we've seen just in the last 12 months, how obviously people are trying to figure out AI. What does it mean? How do I do it? What is that? How are consumers searching differently? So just talk through, we used to talk jokingly about the dark arts of SEO and how like appearing in the top page was like the only thing. And we mentioned earlier, we just had a catch up in the corridor earlier on about the metrics of what good looks like are different now. So people used to always think about clicks, but now so just talk about what things you've seen evolve in the time you've been working in this space, and how understanding has started to really shift, or knowledge has started to really shift.
I don't think understanding is shifting with the dealers, though. It's shifting with the people that understand digital marketing, but the dealers aren't getting it yet. And honestly, it's our own fault, being the industry, not me specifically, of SEO in general, not even in automotive, has taught people for years the KPIs to pay attention to are sometimes ranking, although we were never that type, because that's just an output. That's not a KPI. But the KPIs were always traffic and clicks. It never really was traffic and clicks. It's conversions. It's sales. Like, and I've had so many talks at automotive, and I'm like, look, your vendors are going to tell you this. They're going to tell you that. It's going to be all of this stuff. Ranking reports don't matter because it doesn't tie to your bottom line. This doesn't matter because what matters is your bottom line. You don't hire an SEO agency to rank higher. You don't hire an SEO agency to show up somewhere. You hire an SEO agency to sell more cars.
Yeah.
So selling cars is what it's about. That's the success. The problem is it's very hard to attribute the value of SEO or PPC or social. Yeah. It's very easy with paid search for a dealer because they feed money in, they get a lead, they sell a car to that lead, but they don't realize that person's probably already been to their website 5 times in the past. So you're looking at last click attribution. First click was organic, but there's no way to check that. So everyone just said the simplest thing is if organic traffic's going up and you're getting more clicks, that means you're winning. Well, now traffic's going down and clicks are going down, but it doesn't mean you're not winning with SEO. It's just we've taught people to look at the wrong thing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, years ago, I spoke at NADA, probably 10 years ago. And there was a Ford dealer in the room that loved me and followed me back from the room to the booth, talked to us at the booth for like an hour, signed up for SEO. A year later, they put in their cancellation. And this was when I was at DealerOn. And I was very confused because this was one of the report like metrics, one of the things we'd pull out that we would show in demos with other dealers, because in the space of 12 months, we tripled his organic traffic and doubled his conversions. And if I could go to any dealership and like, no one's going to guarantee SEO, but let's say I could, I would say, look at what I've done for this guy. I can do that for you. And everybody would buy from me. No one would say no. But this guy canceled, and he canceled because I'm not selling any more cars than I was a year ago. And we said, well, clearly you're getting more leads. Are the leads bad? Maybe we're getting you, maybe there's a disconnect and we gave you the wrong kind of leads. No. The leads are good. We're just not selling any more cars. Well, we dug in a little bit and mystery shopped the guy after we left. And it turns out his sales team wasn't calling people back for like 5 or 6 days once a lead would come in. So the problem wasn't SEO or marketing. The problem was his team, but dealers don't ever turn the lens inside. It's always a vendor's fault. I'm just going to switch vendors because that's why it's not working. So we have to do a lot of education right now because most dealers don't even understand what AI actually is. I kind of feel bad for the dealers because it's a stressful time because you see your traffic going down and you're not paying attention to the fact that maybe your sales are going up. You're just looking at this thing you've been trained for 20 years to look at and it's bad and you're freaking out. And now you're looking, and of course, dealers are like marketers. They're playing with ChatGPT all the time and they assume all their customers are, and customers hate it for automotive.
What I still don't get, and we obviously do now have AI assisted powered chat that can then connect up to your stock inventory and your diary appointments and your test drive, potential. So you could do so much if the human hasn't got the bandwidth or the motivation to call them back, which again, I find shocking. There are other tools that can then do that in the service of the human if the human is busy doing something else. So lots of things you can start to plug in. So don't just think I'm selling less cars, therefore I'm going to blame the vendor. Actually look at other metrics. There's the one point that you just made. And then the other thing I think is really sort of important is understand how those tools are starting to rank the responses that you're asking it to respond. So, because you can build different prompts, like I'm a completely independent person. Where would you?
And people don't understand their business owners, and specifically car dealers, again, assume that the public uses ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever like they do, but they don't. And the way that dealers are treating it is they're treating it like it's Google, and they're searching Toyota dealer near me, or who's the best Toyota dealer in Dallas. No one searches AI like that. It is a conversation. It's more of a question like, I am a newly divorced dad. My wife took the SUV. I've got 3 teenagers that play hockey. So I need an SUV with 3rd row seating that has a big back beyond the 3rd row to keep all the hockey equipment in. What kind of car should I get? How are you supposed to track that prompt? You can't.
You can't. They're all so unique, aren't they?
And they're searching Ford SUV Dallas to see what shows up, or what's the best Ford dealership in Dallas, which no customer is searching that. And they're tracking a handful of prompts, and none of those prompts are things that any customer would ever use.
Yeah.
And they're obsessed about how they show up, not realizing that according to Profound's research, Gemini is kind of the main model we're worried about now because it's Google's game to lose at this point. And ChatGPT use is going down, and Gemini has gone like 4x in the last quarter because it's just integrated everywhere Google is. So that's the AI overviews in AI mode. And you have to ask the same question on average 134 times before the same two brands are displayed in the response, which means 133 times you're asking that question on average, the answer is different and you don't have the same two dealerships showing.
How are we going to get that? I mean, obviously, this podcast is one way of doing it, but how are your clients asking you to help them navigate AI transitions?
They are, because there are a lot of vendors, and we had conversations about it last year of should we start selling AI visibility as an add-on? Because of course it's, this might be something that we could charge more for and have an additional service.
Yeah.
But if you can't really track the ROI, how are you supposed to sell it? So the problem is you have the whole OEM approved vendor system. And once you get in, you have to do this cookie cutter BS SEO, and none of them are actually doing real SEO. They're throwing out a couple of blog posts a month and calling it a day. And that's what dealers are used to. So now when they're like, you have to answer customer questions proactively, and you got to do offsite stuff and get mentions and pay attention to YouTube and TikTok, they're all like, that's different. I'm going to sell that as an add-on. Well, most of us that have been doing real SEO, we're like, these are the things that we've been doing for forever. But these other guys that weren't doing it see it as an opportunity. Instead of saying, let's just bolster what we're doing and actually provide value to our clients, they're like, let's charge money for this extra thing because everybody's worried about it. But then it doesn't work, right? So then it's confusing. So now our customers are like, everybody else is over here selling Geo, which I hate saying that's the worst name ever. But they're like, they're selling Geo. Why aren't you selling Geo? And we're like, look at the things that they're saying to do. And they're like, okay. And we're like, look at the agreement that you signed with us and the bullet points of what's included every month. And they're like, all that stuff's already there. I'm like, exactly. We're already doing the things that you need to do because we're not going to do the hacky listicles and the things like that. So people are asking us, and we've had to do our own education to say, look, we got you. We're on it. We're doing those things. And they're like, cool. Can you add some prompt tracking to our reports? And we're like, absolutely not. Here's why. And they're like, I didn't know that. So I think that's really the problem is there's so many people out there trying to make a quick buck in this new period of flux. They're more worried as a vendor about making some extra money and less worried about how it actually works because most of them don't even know how it works.
It's hard to know when you're a dealership and you're buying from tech vendors who will blind you with buzzwords, what it is you should be looking for. So what you were saying there was people are asking you to kind of do like prompt tracking and you're like, there's no point because... So I think that's the thing where a lot of retailers read the stuff about AI, they feel completely blinded by it, and they kind of feel like there's a massive... I think the industry has a bit of a FOMO problem, if I'm honest with you. They really do. Like,
wait, car dealers have FOMO? No way.
I know. But they also, it's like buying cars that they want to drive themselves rather than buying cars that the data says their local area is looking for. So there's an awful lot you can do to really optimize your own business just based on the data that's available. And I think that's still a massive missed opportunity for a lot of retailers, not just in the States, obviously where you're based, but globally. I think people stock things habitually and they buy from their mates.
Yeah.
It's like, come on.
Yeah, it's the age-old problem of dealers are going to go after the cars that they want to sell.
Yeah.
Not what the data tells them their customers want.
Yeah.
And the dealers that pay attention and use tools or processes to figure out, hey, I want to sell this car quickly and turn it so I can sell more cars. Well, let me buy the stuff that's actually selling right now. Those are the guys that have always been successful.
Yeah.
And it's shiny objects. It's like, it's squirrel. It's either that or it's my competitor's doing this, so I need to do the same thing.
Just thinking about you did a keynote yesterday. Sadly couldn't be here because I was actually in the studio doing another podcast. But what was the main thrust of your talk this year? Because obviously you come back every year, Greg.
I know this is, I think, my 20th time here in a row. I've been coming to everyone since 2014. So this time it was about reviews.
Yeah.
So when I talked to them originally about what I was going to talk about, the focus of it was meant to be reviews have become more and more valuable in Google's algorithm over the last 5 years. And they are now important to AI because the AIs don't understand facts. They don't know the difference between fiction and truth. They can't make decisions. So when you're asking a question, who's the best dealership? They have no concept of what that means. So they have to go look at reviews and other websites to understand what to synthesize in their answer. So reviews are even more important now. That's what the talk was supposed to be. But a month ago, Google changed the rules around reviews and what's allowed with reviews. And there are a lot of things that businesses are doing that are now against the rules that were maybe frowned upon before, but it wasn't explicitly listed that you can't do that. And now it is. So now a lot of people are getting reviews just deleted because it doesn't matter that you got those reviews before the rules changed. Now that the rules changed, if they violate the rules, Google's going to just go delete them. And so I've had a ton of dealerships and other marketing agencies reaching out to me going, what's happened? I just had a dealership client last week that lost 500 reviews. And can you help us get them back? And I'm like, no, I can tell you why they lost them because I look at their reviews and in 5 seconds, I can tell you they lost their reviews because they're breaking the new rules. And they're like, but those were old. And I'm like, Google doesn't care. You're never getting these back. And you need to talk to them and tell them to change their process immediately or they're probably going to lose all their reviews. So because that was happening, I said, you know what? I probably ought to talk about this at Brighton because this is going to be a problem everywhere. And Google is actually more aggressive about reviews in the EU than they are in the US. So basically half of my talk was, here are the new rules. Don't do this stuff anymore.
So just explain then, for those that weren't in your talk, what rules do they need to be aware of now when it comes to people reviewing either product or services they've bought? Because I've written some Google reviews, but I just write, if it's like, do you want to review this thing? You go, yes, no, whatever, give it a star rating.
So the two really big changes that dealers need to be aware of. First one, most importantly, you are not allowed to tell people what to write in the review at all, including salesperson's name. And there are so many dealerships out there that have the salespeople request a review and say, hey, put my name in it. Like I'm selling you a car. Hey, you're happy. You just bought the new car. If I ask you, you're likely to leave a very positive review because bad reviews all come from service. All the good reviews are sales. And I'm like, hey, you mind leaving a review? Make sure you put my name in it. And here's my business card. And why don't you do it right now while we're waiting to take you back to financing? So that's 2 rules you're now violating. Rule number 1, I told you what to put in the review. Even just saying put my name in it is now a violation.
Yeah.
The second one is pressuring you to leave the review on premises. You're allowed to ask for the review. I'm allowed to say, hey, it'd be great if you'd leave us a review. But as soon as I say leave us the review right now while you're waiting, there is a kind of a subliminal implication of if you don't do it right now, I might make you wait a little bit longer to go back there. And that also happens back in financing too, of like, while you're waiting for financing, why don't you go ahead and leave us a review? And so that's a big no-no. But the asking people what to include is bad because I don't know if it happens over here, but in the States, there are a ton of dealerships that will give bonuses to sales guys. Like I know some dealerships that will pay up to $50 per review that mentions a salesperson's name.
Yeah.
So of course, what are the sales guys going to do? They're going to tell everybody to do it, or they might go make some fake reviews themselves because, hey, free money, right? The problem is it's not human nature to leave somebody's name in the review. So when you go look through the reviews of dealerships and you see a dealership with 4,000 reviews and 98% of the reviews mention at least one employee by first and last name, that means that dealership was telling people what to write. Especially if I've seen dealerships that'll have every review has a minimum of 2 and sometimes up to 4 to 5 first and last names of people that worked at the dealership. I'm like, this is not real. But I've even told people in conferences, hey, if you get a bad review, when you first go to a Google business profile and you go to look at the reviews, there's like a default top 10 sort before you click, I want to see the newest reviews or I want to see the worst reviews or the best reviews.
Yeah.
So if a dealer gets a bad review that shows up there everyone's going to see it, even if they're not intentionally looking at the bad reviews because they haven't clicked yet to filter. It's just front and center. Yeah. So you want to get it buried. So there's some things that you can do to get it buried that are not illegal at all. But one of those things is if a review has more text in it, it's a little bit stickier and it will more likely be in that top 10.
Yeah.
So if you can reach out to someone that recently left you a 5-star review, like let's say Susie bought a car from you yesterday and left you a really great 5-star review, but it has like 5 words. Then you have her information. You could email her, call her and say, hey, this other dealership's trying to screw us over and they left this really bad review and we're trying to bury it. You know, it would be really helpful. You could just add a little bit more of a story and add a couple more sentences and they add more text and then theirs jumps to the top. And so I've said in conferences, hey, look, you're not allowed to incentivize for reviews and you're not asking them to change the star value. You're just asking them to add more text. Throw them a $10 off an oil change gift card or something.
Yeah.
That's against the rules now. You can't do that.
God, yeah. Crazy, isn't it? There's so many, I think people just going to figure out how to do something. I remember when there was like a few years ago, it was like Google Get, and there was like, if you haven't got a mobile thing, you weren't even appearing in mobile search. So other big sort of trends that I was going to ask you about, vehicles for sale widget on vehicles for sale, that's changed as well recently, hasn't it?
It's gone.
It's gone. So
they
just explain kind of that, how that appeared and what that means for dealers now and the impact that it's having and what they should be doing differently as a result of that.
I can't remember because it's been like a year since they removed it, but I don't know that it ever even got out of North America, did it?
Really? I don't know. I don't think it did.
I don't think it did, no. But basically it was just an inventory feed in your GBP.
Right.
And it would display a little thumbnail with, you know, year, make, model, price, and have a little thumbnail photo. You click on it and it goes to a VDP that loads instantly because it's on Google.
Right.
And it would still have just some basic information, a few photos, and then it would have a button to say learn more. And you click that and it takes you to the individual VDP. So it was like, we're all like, wow, this is a really cool feature. And all the dealers wanted it. Google took it away, but Google took it away because nobody used it.
No.
And it's,
I mean, I think most people would
back to the whole thing of like, you're buying the cars that you want to sell, not what customers want.
Yeah.
You put this widget out thinking it's going to be this great thing, but customers never used it because guess what? Customers want to see the big, gorgeous photos on your site. They don't want to look at the little thumbnail and they don't even know what it is. Yeah. And at the point that you're seeing the GBP, you're not far enough down the purchase path to want to look at that vehicle. So nobody ever used it. So it was this whole convoluted process to set up in the first place. And then nobody used it. So why keep supporting it?
Yeah.
Get rid of it.
I think as well, a lot of people search when they're in market, they'll go to marketplaces. That's what they do. So they'll either go to Auto Trader or CarWow or whatever, is in your region to go and do the vehicle searching if you're looking for used vehicle stock, or if you've got an idea of what you want, you'll go to the OEM page and then you might find your way down to the dealer. One of the things I was going to also sort of lean into, Greg, is you mentioned early on that your kind of background was like more marketing and then obviously you lent more into SEO. How people divvy up their marketing spend, I think, is quite a difficult balance of what do you spend in each channel? How much do you invest in SEO? And I think people, when I first heard you speak, I was surprised at how much you recommended SEO is invested in because you just don't, the investment isn't in paid search, but it's like there's a number of different things that you need to invest your time in.
That's what dealers spend their money in.
Yeah. It's explaining the differences. And I think we can do a little bit of like, let's help retailers understand when they're working with agencies. If you're thinking about your marketing spend, if you've got, I don't know, $100,000 a year, £100,000 a year that you're spending on marketing, how would you recommend that split up in terms of advertising spend above the line, paid SEO, like optimization? So I just think, how do you think, if this is your total of 100%, how do you split those percentages up into what you invest and what you ask your agencies to spend time on?
Speaking of percentages, it is probably a single-digit percentage of dealerships on this planet that know enough about marketing to say, I have $100,000 to spend on marketing this year. How should I split it up?
Yeah.
Because they don't look at marketing as a cohesive strategy. It's here's one vendor to do SEO. Here's another vendor to do paid search. Here's another vendor to do organic social. Here's another vendor to do paid social. Here's another vendor to do my email marketing. Here's another vendor to do my retargeting. Here's a vendor to do my video. Here's a vendor to do my website. So it's like 8 different vendors that are all getting a piece of the pie. And again, it's squirrel. Squirrel. With paid search, you put money in, you get output out that is definitely trackable. It's not like you put up a billboard and you see a rise in sales, but maybe it was something else you don't know. SEO is a little bit like that. You're putting money in, but you don't really know. And dealers are still stuck in a last click attribution world. So paid search seems really exciting because it converts at a high rate. For the 10% of people that click on paid search ads, it's going to convert. Yeah. But for the 90% that don't, if you're putting all your money in paid search, you're not going to capture those customers. And I can't tell you how many times over the years that I've had conversations with dealerships that don't bat an eye at spending 50 grand a month on paid search, but you ask them to spend 3,000 a month on SEO and they're like, oh my God, that's so expensive. I can't, that $3,000, I can't afford that. And then you can go and show them that of all of their conversions, like 90% of their conversions are coming from organic visits on Google, and like 5% are coming from paid search. And we're like, you're spending 50 grand on the 5% that you're getting. You're spending 3 grand on the 95%. And they're like, yeah, but it's really expensive for SEO.
So I think when you think about like last click attribution, which means that I've literally typed in greggifford.com or whatever on Google and it's given me your website or whatever. So I think that's the thing. We would see that people would type in the name of the car manufacturer brand on Google, even though they knew that it was carbrand.co.uk or carbrand.com. Like you could just type it in to the browser. You don't need to use Google to find the website you're looking for. Yeah. So I think that's the thing, that people are over-indexing on the thing that they would find anyway. So whereas the organic search, so when you're organic search, I'm looking for a saloon or whatever. Yeah. And then it returns everything organically that you're looking for.
Or the vendors that are out there that are, let's just call them evil, because that's what they are. We'll take that. A lot of dealers spend at least 10 grand a month, right? Say you're spending 10 grand a month with me and I'm one of those shady vendors, and I'll drop 60% of your budget, 6 grand on JacquiFord.com or Jacqui Ford, name of the dealership, right? Yeah. Because guess what? I own your ad account. You can't see where your money's being spent. You don't know what the structure of the account is. You just see the reports that I send you. And my report says, oh my God, for the 6 grand or for the 10 grand that you spent last month, we got you 500 conversions. And you're like, whoa, that's amazing. And you don't realize that 180 of those conversions are people that looked for you by the name of the dealership, which means their intent was to come to your dealership, which means you would have gotten them for free, but you're paying for it instead when you could have taken that 6 grand and advertised on the more generic earlier phrase stuff that's actually going to sell you more cars. Yeah. But it looks like it's working because it's conversions. And sure, sometimes you do need to bid on your own name as a defensive play because other people in town are paying. But honestly, I don't think you even need to do that, because if someone is looking for Greg Gifford Ford, that's very specific. That's the only dealership in the world that's named that. And there's 5 other dealers in town that advertise on my name. If you type in Greg space, Gifford space Ford, and there's an ad, and it doesn't say Greg Gifford Ford, but it's the top ad, and it says, you know, we've got F-150s, and you're looking for an F-150, and you're like, sweet. And you click on it, and it lands on Jones Ford or whatever. I don't even know if that's a real dealership. It actually is, but I said that because I don't want them to think I'm speaking ill of them. Those guys are actually cool. But you land on Jones Ford. Are you going to go, oh, this isn't Greg Gifford Ford, but guess what? I'll just buy the truck there anyway. No, your explicit intent was to go to me. So what are you going to do? You're going to go back to Google, and then you're going to actually pay more attention and go to me. And Jones Ford is just wasting $5 to $10 on that click for something that never would have converted in the first place. Yeah. So for me, I'm looking at audience intent, not outcome. And if the intent is my dealership name, I'm going to win organically. I'm not going to spend paid search money on that. Yeah, exactly. But dealers don't know enough to think about that and ask the right questions.
Which is nuts, isn't it? So I think, that's one really big tip for dealers is look at where your money's being spent. If you are using an agency, drill down into...
And don't let the agency own any of your properties. You should own everything. Yeah. Because otherwise you're trapped with that agency. Because now all of these agencies that own your paid search account, if you ever want to leave and bring it in-house or use another vendor, you got to start from scratch because you don't get it. They keep it. So you have to start completely from scratch. So we've had dealerships that spend 50, 60 grand a month on paid search that want to leave one of these vendors that owns their ad account. and they can't take any of the work with it, which means now you got to double dip and pay for PPC twice in 1 month because you got to pay us to get the setup done. And building a $60,000 PPC account is going to take several weeks to do when you're starting from scratch and you can't see what's currently being done. So then now you're paying us to build it while you're still paying them to run it because you don't want to go, oh, I'm turning them off on April 30th. And then today I'm starting with the new guy, but I just won't have ads running for 2 weeks because they're going to be scrambling to get it up. And then it's not going to be set up great because we're rushing. So like, it's just nefarious.
How many dealers inadvertently give away their own property then?
Oh, tons. Dealers give away their GBP. Like Ford did a whole thing where they started trying to just take over all the Ford dealer GBPs, which I get it. The OEM is thinking people aren't setting up their business profiles correctly. And we're the manufacturer. You're just a franchise. We're going to take it over and we'll own it and we'll set it up the right way.
So GBP is Google Business Profile.
Google Business Profile, yeah. And so the OEMs are trying to say, look, because the OEMs, they don't care about individual dealers at all. They care, are we selling more stuff? They don't care who sells
Ford
it.
Brighton, rather than the name of the dealer here, which could be Barker, Brighton, whatever.
Yeah,
So
they could care less which individual dealer sells it. They just care that it gets sold.
Yeah.
So there are dealers that are very aggressive and understand how this stuff works. There are also dealers that just kind of skate by with zero effort and maybe aren't set up right. And as an aggregate whole, yes, if everyone was to do halfway decent marketing, you'd sell a lot more cars. So their solution is, let's just take it over. The problem is, once Ford owns it, they can do whatever they want. And now if you do know how to do SEO, you've got two chefs in the kitchen that are trying to cook two different meals and it doesn't help anybody. So it's automotive's fun.
It's fun, isn't it though? My God. So you mentioned about reviews was the big topic this year for your kind of keynote. So reviews, obviously rules have changed. People have lost reviews because rules have changed. What are the other big sort of meaty topics that you're now kind of getting involved with? Obviously, SEO has shifted. The way that we think about SEO is shifting because consumers are having a different way to interact and find things because they're all kind of playing with the new AI language model tools. So how are we helping, or how can you help your customers, and how can we help our listeners think differently about what the trends are in SEO and what they should be looking at?
Most of the talks that I've been doing, either on conference stages or in podcasts or in webinars, is just trying to educate people of just very simply, here's the difference between the technology of how Google works and the technology of how these AI models work. Because most people don't understand, or they may understand 5% of it. And so I'm just trying to educate on, here's what really matters. A lot of vendors are out there doing fear-based selling. It's FOMO. If you're not doing this, you're going to lose.
Yeah.
And so you don't understand what you're buying. You're just buying it because you feel like it's bad if you don't. So I'm trying to educate people on, here's how things actually work. And what you need to do is find ways to work in parallel where the things that you're doing work on both sides of the fence, instead of what a lot of dealers are doing, which is dropping SEO and reducing paid search spend so they can spend a lot of money on AI optimization, which you actually can't optimize for AI. So we're trying to tell people how to do those things.
Yeah.
And then at my SEO conference talks, it's a lot more of trying to shift people's mindsets, because for years in SEO, the solution to winning was go do some keyword research, find a keyword that has a lot of search volume, write a 1,000-word piece of content that has that word scattered throughout the piece of content, publish it on the site, optimize the title tag and the H1 and the alt text and the meta description, throw a couple of internal links to some related pages, and maybe get some external links pointed into that page, and then sit back and wait until that page ranks, and then you're going to get conversions. And that's not how it works now, because people are evaluating and making decisions before they ever get to your website. And you're losing traffic. And another thing is, dealers are freaking out that their traffic is going down. But we've had a lot of success showing dealers, look, if we separate the traffic and look at blog traffic separate from website page traffic is either just staying flat or increasing, while blog traffic is going down. because the early funnel questions of research are what AI is very good at synthesizing an answer on. So people don't need to come to your website for that. And dealers are like, but I want them to come to my website because then I can sell them. And it's been a bit since Google has released this stat. It's probably 2 years. But the most recent thing that Google said is the average new car buyer in North America does 27 separate sessions of research before they convert on a website or show up at a dealership. Yeah. Not meaning they're coming to a dealership website 27 times, but they sit down on 27 separate occasions on various devices, doing research from the whole, maybe I need a new car, through this is the car I want to buy from the place I want to buy, so now I'm going to convert. Dealers don't realize that. Dealers think people are going to sit down and do a Google search and buy from the first dealer they see. So what I say to these dealers is, who gives a squat if you're losing blog traffic? Because a customer never needed to go to your website to see what the towing capacity of the 2025 F-150 was. But that's the kind of crap that all these horrible vendors were writing. And you don't need 1,000 words for that. You need 4 words. It's towing capacity is 5,000 pounds or 10, whatever. I don't even know what that is. Like, it's way more than 5,000, right? But people don't need to go to your website for that. So who cares that you're losing that traffic? What matters is, at the point of conversion, are they coming to you? Or what we're really going to all see is brand traffic. The name of the dealership is going to skyrocket, because at the point that they go to Google, they're looking for your website to convert on your website because they've already done all of their research in AI, or they've already done their research on TikTok, or they've already done their research in Reddit. So that's what dealers don't understand. Dealers still think it is this very linear, simple 2 or 3 step path. And it's not. It's this whole squiggly line that goes around in different directions. And it's like infinity, because you'll go somewhere and get an answer, and go somewhere else and get an answer, and then go back to the first place. And you're just in this infinite loop until at one point you drop out and convert. Yeah. And everybody thinks it's this traditional marketing funnel where you start at consideration and move down to purchase. And it's never been that. And it's really not that now.
So you mentioned a couple of sites there that I don't know how well dealers are doing at putting their content on sites like Reddit or TikTok. Or
they're not doing it at all.
I know, that's what I'm thinking of. Like,
or dealers will do it on TikTok because they have a millennial that works there and they like TikTok, so they'll do TikTok. But they do the goofy, like, here's the TikTok trend today, let me go make this video for my dealership. Which, like, cool, but that's not going to sell you any cars. And maybe they'll do some walk around videos, but it's a walk around video that you drop on a VDP, not something that's going to work on TikTok. And they don't even understand the TikTok algorithm or how to optimize so that they're going to show up more often. Or they don't know how to go to these networks that you can access and put a little bit of money in to have an influencer say something about your dealership that has 10 million followers on TikTok, or maybe not even that. Maybe they have 100,000 followers on TikTok, but they're all 100,000 followers in your local area. Yeah. Like, nobody's thinking. It's realistically, the vast majority of dealerships don't actually do real marketing. Because of what I said earlier, it's this disjointed. I'm just going to pick a bunch of vendors. And one of the things I was talking about yesterday is most businesses, and especially dealerships, don't count reviews as part of their digital marketing strategy. It is a reputation management strategy with a reputation management vendor. And the entire strategy is, I want to get more reviews and have them answer the reviews for me. It's not a cohesive strategy about why reviews are so important to Google's algorithm and to the AI. So let's get the right things in the reviews. And they all concentrate just on Google, but it's really important to spread them among all the sites. So it's because dealers don't really understand real marketing. And that's a blanket statement. There are a lot of dealers that do, but the vast majority don't. And that's the problem.
I think it's very traditional from what I've seen, Greg. It's they know what works. They'll use the marketplace. They can track the data from the marketplace. But they also, we've talked already about, and the podcast I was doing yesterday was from an AI dealership who are actually using data to stock the inventory that they know is being searched for in their local area. So there's so many different things you can do to use real data to make real decisions to make sure that your dealer you're stocking the right thing. So in true retail, you buy a thing for X amount of money, you sell it for Y amount of money. Hopefully Y is bigger than X. Right. So that's the whole point, is that you prep it, you do whatever, you turn it, and then you sell it. But you're making profit. That's the whole point of true retail. You don't just buy the thing for X amount, sit on it for 60 days, and then eventually think, oh, no one's buying that thing because I thought they would and they didn't. So there's a lot of things that I think we can help dealers just think about in the way that they optimize all of those different channels. Just answer me a question as well. Does the combination of TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all of those kind of social platforms add up to, if I do all these things, I'll perform more in this. Does the algorithm see the stuff I'm doing in other platforms? Or is that, do I need to join it all together? Because you said at the moment, people have just got, it feels like such a scattergun approach to, I'll throw some money out there and hope some of it sticks.
Right.
Whereas I'm going to have a really cohesive strategy of having the right car marketed to the right audience in the right way that I know is going to bring them in. So like say organic search works because people find you because they've heard about you.
Right.
So,
but it's not really that you're doing TikTok or Reddit because of the Google algorithm. You're doing TikTok or Reddit because anybody younger than 20, their primary search engine is going to be either TikTok or YouTube.
Yeah.
Maybe Instagram.
Yeah.
You're not doing those things because it's going to help you show up better in Google. You're doing those things because you need to show up where your audience is looking for you.
Yeah, sure.
And dealers still think, there's still dealers that are nearing retirement age or past retirement age and just won't let go of the reins that still throw ridiculous money at TV and radio and newspaper because they've been doing it for 50 years at that dealership and it's worked for them. And you ask them, okay, what's the ROI? Well, I don't know. I just know that it works. And if I quit, I'm going to lose my leads. Or there's still dealers that will spend 20 grand a month on Auto Trader, and Auto Trader's like, you're getting all these leads, yet you're spending money to advertise right next to your competitors. Yeah. And when you look at actual attribution, if you have your CRM set up correctly, you're selling 2 or 3 cars a month. So you're spending 20 grand to sell 2 or 3 cars. And even 15 years ago, I would tell dealers, just don't spend money on third party. Don't do it. Don't spend it on the directories. It only works if you're an independent or if you have a used car on your lot that is very hard to find. But if you're selling a 2-year-old F-150 and you're in Texas, there's going to be one at a dealership 5 minutes from you, no matter where you are. You don't need to advertise on Auto Trader. You need to be on Google.
Yes.
And people would drop it and go, and I would tell people, you drop Auto Trader. And you know what? If I'm wrong, cool, prove me wrong. And what's going to happen is you're going to drop Auto Trader. Your sales are going to dip and you're going to notice it very quickly. And you're going to freak out. You're going to call me and you're going to be mad. And then you're going to call Auto Trader back and get back on at a cheaper package for the same thing that you were getting before because they want you back. So if anything, you might lose a couple of sales, but you're going to get a cheaper thing that's going to be what you had before and it'll be better for you in the long run. And they'll go, okay, cool, I'll do it. You know how many people in the last 15 years have quit Auto Trader and Cars.com and Car Gurus and all the other third-party sites because we suggested that they do, saying come back if you want? You know how many have come back? Of the hundreds of dealers that have done it, 1. Everybody else is like, oh, wow, I didn't even notice a decrease in sales at all. I didn't notice a decrease in lead volume at all. It's because they're stuck in this mindset of this is what we've always done.
Yeah.
This is what works. And they don't use data to even prove that it works. And dealers still have the very linear mindset of Google is what matters. So they're not thinking about other review platforms like I was talking about in my talk. They're not talking about Reddit or Quora or YouTube or TikTok or any of these other places. Mm-hmm. And when you start to bring it up, they're like, well, how's it going to help me in Google? And I'm like, it's not. It's going to help you because you've got people looking on those platforms.
Yeah.
And I just, and I'm not trying to disparage dealers because unless you have a marketing role that their job is to just do marketing, it's like an internet manager who is also kind of in charge of marketing. And there's nobody at a dealership that went to school for marketing or worked in an agency or in-house as a marketer. It's someone that's come up through the automotive ranks and is now in charge of the internet side of the business. Yeah. They don't really know how to do marketing. It's not their fault. Yeah. They just don't know. That's why we try to educate these people. But you just do what you've always done because you don't know any better. No. And then when we're the only vendor telling you these things and every other vendor is just like, just give me your money, it's fine, then it's hard because everyone else is saying what you're doing is working, keep doing it and keep shoveling more money. And we're like, no, don't give us. Like people are shocked when we do paid search with them and somebody's coming over spending 50 grand a month. And we're like, look, in your market, you maybe need to spend 25. And they're like, well, our vendor keeps telling us to spend more. So we spend more and get more leads. And they're shocked when they come in with us and they're spending half of what they were spending, getting twice as many leads because we actually know how to set it up correctly. And it's just a lot of the vendors selling marketing services are people that used to work in dealerships and they go make their own company to just do the same thing they were doing. And nobody really knows how this stuff works.
I think that's it. There is they don't think that they can do it because they've never been shown how to do it.
Yeah.
So actually understanding what you're spending and which bits are working is also kind of like part of the critical, don't be afraid of it. But I think there is such a lack of knowledge. That's why people outsource it. So they outsource it, but then they end up spending a lot of money on stuff they don't really need. So just thinking then, like the key takeaways then for anyone listening to this episode who wants to kind of get the most out of, so we talk about marketing services as a kind of general discipline. What are the top tips that we can give them? So one thing we talked about was like, obviously reviews are kind of, the rules have changed with reviews, but what would be the top takeaways that you could say to dealers to think about when
for
they're looking
marketing in general or for like SEO side?
I think SEO, because that's kind of what that's your sweet spot.
So I would say, first of all, to be a little bit pluggy, but not to be pluggy, because like we don't really, I mean, while we could work with dealerships outside of North America, we haven't really done that so far. And part of that is the cost of SEO is significantly more expensive in the US than it is over here.
Yeah.
So over here, it would be mind-boggling to a dealer to spend $5,000 a month on SEO. I've got some dealers that spend $10,000 a month on SEO, which seems crazy. But like if you're a Ford dealer in Dallas, which is the densest Ford market in the world, $500 a month's not going to cut it.
Yeah.
Right. You know, but we've just last year did the largest automotive SEO study ever done. We studied 8,500 Google business profiles across multiple verticals, but the automotive section alone, I think, was like 3,400 different Google business profiles. So we ran, it's been a bit, I don't remember. It was my study. I should know this stuff. But like Ford dealer, Chevy dealer, Toyota dealer, Kia dealer, Jeep dealer, and used car dealer. So those 6 terms in the 20 largest cities in the US. And we went into the map pack and took positions 1 through 20 and pulled a whole like 185 or 186 data points on each individual dealership to look at the elements of the GBP and links pointed to the website, content on the website, all of these things. Largest automotive SEO study ever done, beaten by a long shot the previous one that was also us the year before. And even for dealers outside of North America, while like review counts are going to be significantly higher for us than it's going to be for someone in Europe, pulling this report will help, because a lot of people that do these studies, they're trying to prove that this factor matters more than another. Yeah. And that wasn't the intent of our study. The intent of our study was education, because you have all of these people, including me, out there on stage preaching best practice, and nobody's really backing it up with data.
Yeah.
So we wanted to back it up with data and say, here's the commonly believed best practice. If you get more links, you rank better. So let's do 2 things. So of all of these different elements, here's the industry average. You want to know the industry average for review score? We've got it. You want to know the average for how many reviews it takes, or how long it takes to respond to review, or word count on the homepage, or do you have vehicles for sale, or do you have departments set up, which is something most business, like all of these things. We have industry averages. Then we also compared the dealers that rank number 1 to the dealers that rank number 10 and said, okay, the assumption is with this individual thing, like reviews or links or content on the page, the intent is if you have more links, you will rank higher. So across those 3,000 profiles, looking at position 1 versus position 10, which isn't 3,000, it's a lesser list. Yeah. Does position 1 average more links than position 10? Yes or no? Guess what? It actually didn't.
Really?
Because there's one dealership in Dallas that has like 6.5 million links pointed to their website. So they have an internal SEO team that is looking at number of links, not number of unique websites linking to you, which is what's really important. So they have like 6.5 million links from like 600 websites.
Right.
But when you're looking at link count, that number skewed everything. So we had to pull some things out to fix the averages. But like nearly every single thing that is a best practice, the people at position 1 were doing it significantly better than the people at position 10. So it lets you know, hey, the data is showing that these best practices are true and this is what you should do. So definitely dealers should go to the Search Lab site and download it.
Yeah.
I don't remember what the URL is. So really, if anybody is listening or watching and they want to get a copy of the study, my email address is just greg@searchlabdigital.com. If they pop me an email and say, hey, I'd like a copy of the study, I'll just email the PDF to them.
We'll tag it.
So then you can have that.
LinkedIn.
Or
yeah.
I could just send it to you.
Send it to me. We'll tag it.
Whatever.
It'd be really good. So I think because you talked a lot about education, Greg, and I think if we can help them, we can help retailers know what good looks like. So it's like, how do people follow you?
Yeah.
What's the latest research? How can they get to it? And if it's freely available to download and read, for goodness sake, just have a look at it. Because even if you're reading something and you know you've got a vendor coming in to pitch to you, it gives you the ability to challenge what they're telling you.
You learn enough to be able to ask the right questions.
Yeah, of course.
And that's what it is. And then the other thing I would suggest is go to our blog, because I have a video series that used to be weekly, but between various agencies, I did a weekly video series for 10 years. And it became very difficult to come up with something new to talk about every week.
Yeah, of course.
So at this point, it's once or twice a month. But for the last, up until this year, for the last 5 years it's 6 years now. So for 6 years at Search Lab, I had a weekly video every Tuesday. Most of them are like less than 5 minutes long, but I would also share conference presentations. So there's an education thing there, but they can go watch any of those videos.
Yeah.
And they talk about tactics, and it's very automotive focused. So I think that would be really beneficial for people too.
That's brilliant. Honestly, Greg, I am so happy that we got to have this discussion. It's been so good. It's been really, really good. So research will tag, and then the blog. I think that's great. So you've got like free content. Your thought leadership is freely available. People haven't got to wait a year to see you come back to Brighton. I'm assuming, are you back here in October as well?
Yeah.
So if people do want to come to Brighton SEO, then absolutely, this is a great event to come and learn.
For sure, come see me. And also for anybody that's listening or watching that might come to Brighton SEO in the fall, I always teach the local SEO training course on Wednesday. And it's like, I don't really know. I think it's like 700, 800.
A few of our people actually did the training this time around. They came and did the courses because it's just so good to keep your skills current. So if there are people in the dealership that are focus on marketing, so get them to come along here and do.
And literally anybody at a dealership that has an in-house person that's not like an internet manager that also does marketing, but I'm talking a full-time marketing person that works at the dealership, they should come to this course because they won't need a vendor. They will know exactly what you leave with a playbook of here's how I need to optimize my website. And all the examples that I give are automotive just because like
that's what you do.
I work in auto. So it would be very relevant for anyone that wants to come.
Brilliant. Honestly, Greg, thank you again so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I'm so thrilled. And we've been looking at, we were talking about tattoos, which is a whole nother episode. But listen, Greg Gifford, COO of Search Labs and global thought leader in SEO. It's been my absolute pleasure finally getting to spend some time with you on the podcast.
I'm so glad we were able to work it out.